Best photographs of beauties of the Old West. Have you ever wondered what those shy smiles and silk ribbons were really hiding? Stay here, because you won't just see the best beauties of the Old West. You're about to step right into the untold secrets there. Portraits never dared to whisper. Vice versa. Virtue, temperance, crusades, and double standards in the Old West. Western towns were lively places where saloons, gambling halls, and brothels lined one side of Main Street, while churches and schools stood on the other. On Saturday night, music, whiskey, and dancing spilled into the dusty road. On Sunday morning, hymn books and stern sermons tried to sweep the fun away. This tug-of-war between vice and virtue shaped daily life for everyone, but especially for women. Temperance leagues take the stage. Many women joined temperance leagues that wanted to ban alcohol. They believed whiskey caused poverty, fights, and broken homes. These crusaders marched with banners, sang hymns outside saloons, and begged lawmakers to outlaw drink. Holding brooms high, they said they were sweeping sin from the streets. Prayer meetings versus piano tunes. While church bells rang, ragtime pianos pounded next door. Preachers warned that strong drink led straight to ruin, yet thirsty cowboys still crowded bars. Some men went to both places, raising a glass Saturday night, kneeling in prayer Sunday morning. That double life made reformers furious. Rescue homes and second chances. Temperance women set up rescue homes where prostitutes could find shelter, hot meals, and Bible lessons. The goal was to trade the red lamp for respectable work like sewing or cooking. Success was mixed. Some women stayed grateful for safety. Others returned to the brothel, where the pay was better and the rules clearer. Laws with loopholes. Cities passed ordinances fining prostitutes and shutting saloons early. Yet the same laws rarely punished paying customers. Police often looked the other way when wealthy ranchers or traveling salesmen broke curfew. Poorer folks faced stricter arrests. This uneven treatment showed the era's double-standard vice was tolerated if powerful people enjoyed it. Money talks louder than morals. Brothels paid high business taxes, and saloons bought costly liquor licenses. Town councils used that money to build roads, hire teachers, and buy firefighting gear. Citizens who liked new sidewalks ignored where the funds came from. Reformers argued it was wrong to improve a town with dirty dollars, but many voters preferred progress over purity. Hidden hypocrisy? Sometimes the loudest moral crusaders were caught slipping into saloons after dark. Newspapers loved these. Scandals, headlines mocked leaders who preached temperance by day and sipped secret cocktails by night. Each exposed hypocrite made the public question every grand speech about virtue. Women's voices grow strong. Fighting vice pushed many frontier. Women into public life for the first time. They spoke at town meetings, wrote letters to governors, and organized petition drives. These skills later fueled the women's suffrage movement, proving that moral debates opened doors to wider political power, slow shifts in law. By the early 1900s, some territories went dry, banning alcohol completely. Saloons shut their swing doors, and bootleggers hid bottles in saddlebags. Brothels faced stricter health checks and higher license fees. Even so, gambling cards still flicked under hidden lanterns, and secret whiskey flowed wherever looked away. Vice never vanished. It just moved deeper into the shadows, lasting lessons. The Old West struggle between fun and fairness shows how complicated communities can be. People wanted both excitement and safety, both freedom and order. Double standards hurt many, especially women who were judged harsher than men. Remembering these stories reminds us to make rules that treat everyone equally and to watch that our own actions match our words. Echoes today. Modern towns still debate how to balance nightlife with family spaces, and scandals still erupt when leaders break their own rules. The past whispers a warning. Real virtue is proven by deeds, not speeches. And while joy and music brighten life, they should never trample respect and fairness. Keeping both sides in harmony remains a challenge, worth tackling just like it was on those windy western streets. STD dangers and quack cures on the frontier. When cowboys rolled into town after weeks on the trail, they often looked for fun before riding off again. Along with songs and laughter, they sometimes carried silent companions germs that caused diseases like syphilis and gonorrhea. People back then called these illnesses the pox, or private troubles, and they spread fast in crowded saloons and brothels. Doctors knew little about tiny bacteria, so mistakes and myths filled the gap, whispers and worries. Most folks were too embarrassed to talk openly about these diseases. A sore spot or fever might be blamed on bad air from swampy ground, or on spicy food. Because symptoms could hide for weeks, a person might unknowingly pass the infection to others. Rumors flew across poker tables, claiming that drinking strong coffee or wearing red flannel underwear could stop the spread. None of it worked. Doctors with limited tools. Frontier doctors did the best they could, but medical school was short and microscopes were rare. They used guessing more than science. When a patient showed painful signs, the doctor often reached for mercury pills or liquid. Mercury is a shiny metal that can kill germs, yet it also poisons people. Patients swallowed doses so strong their hair fell out and teeth loosened. Some lost their eyesight or even died, never knowing whether the sickness or the cure was to blame. Patent medicines and snake oil. Traveling salesmen arrived in brightly painted wagons shouting about miracle tonics. Bottles with names like Dr. Lightning's Life Elixir promised to cleanse the blood, sharpen the mind, and wipe away all troubles. Labels listed secret herbs, but many mixtures hid alcohol, opium, or more mercury. Buyers felt better for a short time, usually because of the alcohol, then crashed as the real illness marched on. Still, clever slogans and flashy posters kept customers coming back. Home remedies and folk fixes. People far from any town doctor leaned on neighbors' advice. Some boiled pine needles into tea, believing the strong taste chased out evil spirits. Others rubbed garlic paste on sores or soaked bandages in vinegar. These treatments smelled terrible and rarely helped, but they felt safer than swallowing unknown chemicals. Grandmothers warned young men to rinse with salt water after visiting the red light district. Sadly, salt did nothing to stop bacteria. Early protection attempts. A few cities started to understand that prevention beat cure. Thin sheepskin French letters, early versions of condoms, appeared in general stores, though they were expensive and fragile. Some madams required customers to use them. Most men laughed off the idea or thought it spoiled the fun. As a result, diseases kept finding fresh hosts. Social hygiene campaigns. By the late 1800s, newspapers began printing articles about social hygiene, a polite term for sexual health. Reformers urged towns to inspect brothels, post warning signs, and teach young people simple facts about germs. Temperance groups handed out leaflets saying, "Clean living means long life." Progress was slow because many leaders felt the topic was too shocking for decent conversation. Ignoring the issue, however, allowed infections to dig deeper roots. Stories of loss and learning. Diaries tell of young cowhands who went home to marry but carried hidden disease. Their wives became sick without understanding why. Some babies were born blind because syphilis passed from mother to child during pregnancy. These tragedies slowly pushed families to demand better answers from doctors and lawmakers. Little by little, the medical community realized that mercury was not magic and that honest education saved lives. Steps toward real medicine. At the turn of the century, new tests could spot bacteria under a microscope. Scientists in Europe discovered that certain dyes could kill germs without harming patients. Word traveled across the ocean by telegraph and steamer, reaching even small Western clinics. Patent medicine wagons lost their shine as more people trusted trained physicians. By 1910, doctors used safer drugs like salvarsan, the first modern treatment for syphilis. Why this history matters. The frontier's struggle against hidden diseases teaches an important lesson. Good health depends on truth, caution, and solid science, not quick fixes or secret potions. Today we have antibiotics and accurate tests, but harmful rumors can still spread as fast as they did in dusty saloons. Remembering the past reminds us to ask questions, read labels, and rely on proven care. The brave men and women who learned through painful trial and error helped pave the way for the safer world we enjoy now. Life behind the red door. Daily routines inside a Western brothel. The red lamp above the door told townsfolk exactly what kind of house waited inside. Yet for the women who lived there, the building was part workplace, part shelter, and part secret club. Many people whispered rumors, but few knew the day-to-day rhythm that ticked like a hidden clock behind those velvet curtains. Let's push the door open gently and explore that rhythm in words even a sixth grader can follow. Morning in the parlor house, dawn arrived, the same for everyone in town, but inside the brothel, mornings were quieter than roosters and rail whistles. Outside, most women had worked late, so sunrise meant sleep. A cook, sometimes the oldest resident, clanged pots on a small iron stove, stirring oatmeal thick with dried fruit. She brewed strong coffee that filled hallways with a nutty smell. When the women finally shuffled out in slippers and loose robes, the parlor still twinkled with last night's lamp oil. They ate, yawned, and shared stories of silly customers, counting tips into little cloth bags they tucked under pillows. Chores and cleanup. A brothel needed tidying, just like any hotel. Sheets went into big washtubs, floors were swept and shiny. Spittoons were emptied without fuss. Everyone helped, because a clean house meant good business. Rugs were beaten outside to shake loose cigar ash. Dresses hung on rope lines to air out perfume and tobacco. Even the fancy red curtains took a morning dance in the breeze when windows flung wide, letting sunlight chase away stale smoke. The madam's ledger. While chores rolled on, the madam boss of the house sat at a desk with a thick ledger. She tracked rooms, rented bottles, sold, and coins owed. Each woman's pay depended on her nightly guests and the house rules. The madam also ordered supplies like lamp oil, soap cakes, and silk ribbons, writing everything in neat ink rows. Fair or not, her math decided who got new gloves and who patched old ones. Afternoon downtime. After chores, the parlor fell hush. Some women practiced songs on an out-of-tune piano, hoping to impress evening visitors. Others mended stockings, brushed wigs, or read tattered magazines for news of New York fashion. A few kept pet canaries, whose chirps bounced off wallpaper like sunshine. This lull felt cozy, but a bell above the front door could jingle any time, signaling a traveler in need of a room or simply directions. Courtesy mattered because a kind greeting often turned into returning business. Getting ready for night, as shadows stretched long, preparation began. Hair was curled with hot irons, heated on coals. Rouge from beet syrup went on cheeks, and perfume dabbed at wrists. Dresses in rich colors, emerald, ruby, sapphire, were chosen to match ribbon chokers. Women laced corsets, just tight enough to give that famous hourglass, but still breeze through hours of chatter and dancing. They helped lace each other, tugging strings and sharing compliments like sisters before a big recital, evening buzz. The saloon doors next door swung in rhythm with piano tunes, and soon footsteps thudded toward the red lamp. The parlor glowed. Under chandeliers made of pressed glass, visitors left hats on a wooden stand, tipped the house musician, and settled onto velvet settees. The air smelled of rose perfume mixed with cigar smoke and fresh-poured whiskey. Conversation flowed, some light, some businesslike. Women might sing a ballad, deal cards, or simply listen to a cowboy's trail stories. Laughter fluttered like moths around a lantern. Rules and safety. The madam enforced clear rules. No fighting, no rough talk, pay first. She kept a small stick behind the desk as a warning, but mostly used a stern stare. Trusted bouncers, often retired lawmen, watched doors to keep rowdy guests. From causing trouble, women looked out for each other too. If someone signaled discomfort, a secret tap on a wall or a sharp whistle, help arrived quick. Safety plans grew from hard lessons and strong bonds. Money matters, coins and paper bills, passed hand to hand all night. The house earned a cut for food, music, and clean sheets. The rest went to the women, who saved for family back east, fine, gowns, or a future shop of their own. Some sent money to parents, proving success beyond simple survival. A chalkboard near the kitchen listed weekly earnings, sparking friendly rivalries and cheers, friendship and heartache. Living under one roof built friendships like braided rope. Women shared secrets, swapped advice about cough tonics, and celebrated birthdays with extra icing scraped from a bakery cake. Yet homesickness sometimes crept, in letters from children or sweethearts far away, brought tears. On those nights, A gentle arm around shoulders and a shared lullaby helped. Despite outside judgment, inside the house they formed a family circle strong as pine beams. Health and rest, late night faded into early morning. Lamps dimmed and the cook reheated stew for a midnight snack. Everyone washed off powder and perfume, soaked sore feet in warm water, and slipped into cotton gowns. The madam checked rooms, locked cash in a metal box, and blew out the final lantern, letting quiet settle. Behind heavy doors, the house slept, ready to spin the routine again when sunset painted the sky. Why their story matters: brothels sat on the edge of respectability. Yet they were part of frontier towns, just like the blacksmith and the general store. The women who lived there showed grit, kindness, and business smarts while balancing danger and dreams. Their daily routine, clean sheets, curled hair, counted coins, tells another side of Wild West history. Understanding their world reminds us that courage wears many dresses, and that even a red-lit door can hide stories of hope and heart. Prairie Cosmetics, homemade rouge, powder, and perfume tricks. On the wide-open plains, a woman's face could collect more dust than compliments. Yet frontier ladies still found clever ways to look and smell nice. Makeup stores were states away, cash was tight, and fancy brands did not travel well in a bumpy wagon. So women turned to kitchen cupboards, herb patches, and even cattle byproducts to mix beauty aids that helped them feel confident under the harsh prairie sun. Gathering ingredients, everything started with gathering. Mothers sent kids to pick wild roses, yarrow, and sweetgrass near the creek. Beet tops went into a basket instead of the cookpot. Even animal fat saved from supper could be melted and cleaned to become creamy balm. Food scraps became beauty gold because nothing in a frontier home was wasted, making the makeup base. For lipstick and skin salve, women rendered beef, tallow, or lard in a kettle until clear. They cooled it, skimmed off bits, then stirred in beeswax shaved from old candle stubs. This mix hardened into a smooth base. To color it, a pinch of red, iron oxide or crushed brick, if nothing else, turned pale fat into a rosy tint. The result slid into tiny tin boxes for pocket use. Rouge from beets and berries, fresh produce added the glow. Sliced beets were baked until their juice thickened. Women dabbed the syrup on cheeks for a healthy flush. In berry months, raspberries and choke cherries mashed through cloth left bright stains that lasted all evening. A girl might rub berry juice on lips, let it dry, then seal it with a thin coat of greased tallow so the color stayed put during a long barn dance. Face powder and dust defense. Keeping skin smooth was tough when wind whipped grit into every wrinkle. Many ladies ground rice or dried corn into fine flour, sifted it twice, and stored it in a muslin bag. A light pat sucked up sweat and gave a soft, matte look. Some mixed the rice flour with white clay taken from creek banks to add staying power. Zinc-based lily white powder sold by traveling salesmen sometimes replaced homemade blends. But rumors warned it could make skin itch. Women who feared chemicals stuck to kitchen flour, even if it smelled like bread dough on a hot day. Perfume from Prairie Scents. Smell mattered in close quarters like church pews, or perfume was costly. Frontier women made their own. They filled glass jars with rose petals or sweetgrass, poured boiled lard or bear fat. Over the top sealed it, and let the mic sit in a warm spot. After a week, the fat carried a gentle scent. Scraped into small pots, it worked like today's solid perfume. Some added a splash of whiskey to thin the bomb and feel extra fancy. Tools. Of the trade, makeup brushes were rare. Instead, soft chicken feathers or a twist of clean cloth served as applicators. Small mirrors hung beside the door for last-minute touch-ups before church. When light was poor, ladies judged color by feel-dabbing cheeks until the skin tingled. Just right, they shared hand-me-down mirrors like treasures, polishing the glass with ash if it clouded, sharing secrets and warnings. Beauty recipes spread at quilting bees, Bible studies, and laundry lines. Women swapped tips, add wheat starch for silkier powder. Steep orange peels in bear grease for long-lasting scent. Yet they also warned each other lead in face paint could cause headaches. Homemade perfume stored too near the stove might melt and ruin Sunday gloves. Friendship circles became both beauty school and safety board. Catalog dreams again. Railroad mail brought catalogs full of printed pots labeled French Rouge and Parisian Essence. The pictures looked grand, but prices were steep. Many teens circled items in pencil, hoping a birthday coin or a neighbor's order could include one small luxury. Until then, they mixed beet syrup, knotted a ribbon in their hair, and told the mirror, "Good enough for now." Why beauty recipes mattered. Prairie Cosmetics were more than color and scent. They were proof of skill, thrift, and creativity. When life felt scratchy and plain, a home-blended rouge let a woman see sparkle in her own reflection. It told neighbors she still claimed grace in a place ruled by grit. And every time a girl scented her wrist with rose-lard balm, she carried a breath of summer even when winter roared outside the sod house. Frontier beauty wasn't about copying city trends, it was about turning whatever the land gave into confidence you could wear. When people picture the Wild West, they often think of dusty streets, galloping horses, and shootouts at noon. But women on the frontier cared about style, too. Looking good wasn't just for fun. It helped a woman feel strong, win respect, or land a job like singing in a saloon. Even with few stores and rough living, these women found clever ways to shape their bodies into the hourglass look narrow waist, full hips that magazines called beautiful. Here's how they pulled it off, step by step. The first layer, soft, simple, and secret. Every outfit started with items you rarely see in old photos. First came a chemise, a loose cotton nightshirt, and drawers knee-length underpants. When baths were rare and soap was homemade, the corset, the waist shrinker next. Most women laced up a corset. Picture a stiff vest made of sturdy cloth with thin metal strips called bones sewn inside. Pulling the laces tight made the waist smaller and the back straighter. Movies often show ladies fainting from tight corsets. But frontier women had chores hauling water, chopping wood so they couldn't squeeze too hard. Many kept to styles, a looser work corset for daytime tasks and a snug evening corset for parties or church. Whether regular or healthy, a corset was pricey. So women patched and reused them for years, sometimes even after having babies, puffing out the skirt, petticoats and bustles. Puff out? That meant piling on petticoats extra skirts worn under the real skirt. Frontier winds flipped those hoops like umbrellas. So by the 1870s, most women switched to the bustle, a padded roll or small wireframe worn on the backside only. Store-bought bustles cost money. Creative women stuffed old feed sacks with rags, straw, or even crumpled newspapers to make homemade ones. In winter, they quilted petticoats with wool scraps, adding warmth and thickness at the same time. Fabric tricks, using color and lines. Fancy silk rarely crossed the prairie, so townsfolk mostly had cotton or wool. Inch off each hip. Ladies sewed shiny beads or fringe along the back of the skirt to catch lamplight and highlight the bustle curve. One packet of ribbons could decorate hats, cuffs, and even cover a mended tier, turning a plain dress into a statement piece. Life on the range was rough, so women invented clothing that switched roles fast. Some used split skirts, very wide pants that looked like a skirt or bloomers hidden under an apron. They could ride a horse, climb a fence, then drop the apron panel and appear ladylike again. Overskirts sometimes buttoned up at the sides. One tug let the fabric fall back down for dinner. Even corsets came in softer styles filled with rope-like cords instead of metal, so bending and lifting hurt less. A broad leather belt with a shiny buckle drew every eye to the waist's narrowest point. Sash bows, big knots of fabric tied at the back hid the join between bodice and skirt while adding extra fluff to the bustle. A wide brim bonnet framed the face and balanced a big skirt. A small tight bonnet made the wearer look taller. Of place, most frontier ladies laced only tight enough to shape, not to harm. Still, breathing deep was harder. Some corsets had elastic panels on the sides for safety. More dangerous than squeezing was the use of toxic dyes like the green made with arsenic that could sicken anyone who sewed or wore it. Because tailors were scarce, women shared tips at quilting bees or church picnics. They'd pin fabric right in a customer's kitchen, all while swapping gossip and advice. Add one more petticoat if you want extra swing, or cut the bodice on the bias so it hugs your shape. Payment might be money, eggs, or a place to sleep in the barn loft. Teenagers traced the pictures onto feed sack cloth, dreaming of the day they would wear the real thing. Catalogs also sold ready-made corsets, costing as much as a month's wages. What the silhouette really meant for frontier women, shaping an hourglass figure was more than copying big city styles. It was a way to say, I may live in a rough land, but I can still look proud and put together. The corset acted like armor, the bustle like a banner. Each stitch showed skill, grit, and creativity. Even today, those dramatic shapes remind us that Wild West women were not just passengers on history's wagon, they drove their own story, thread by thread, curve by curve.